Good evening, Uganda. The protectionist bill has been rejected, and in fact, the central bank had warned that that bill, if it proceeded through, would have been an economic disaster.
Wenjogerera Eteka lya His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni ligobeddwa 2 Maaso ako kana katambi njagala okawe obudde ono omukazi alina ensonga z'abadde nga ayisaawo ng'era ng'agamba kineno etteeka we liyita ligenda kukosebwa nnyo Uganda, ligenda kukosa nnyo Uganda wamu n'abantu abagenda okuba nga beewangalira mu ggwanga Uganda n'abazungu. So kati bbanka y'ensi yonna wamu n'abafukuza ssente zonna babudde ne bagamba nedda lino etteeka lirina okuba nga ligobebwa. Njagala oli ono omukazi nga alina by'annyonnyodde bulungi ku lino etteeka tovaako mu maaso awo ebyokero nabyo mbirina.
Good evening, Uganda. The protectionist bill has been rejected, and in fact, the central bank had warned that that bill, if it proceeded through, would have been an economic disaster for Uganda. It says the Protection of Sovereignty Bill, tabled on April 15th, requires government approval for large foreign funds and label recipients as foreign agents if tied to political activities, with fines and jail for violations. The governor warned on April 28th that it threatens remittances of $2.5 billion from the diaspora and investments, potentially draining reserves and devaluing the shilling. Opposition leader saying about opposition leader David Lewis how it is unconstitutional, and civil society groups fear that it impacts on health grants, while supporters see it as shielding against foreign meddling. The bank urges fixes to protect growth. The chairman also says a country without reserves is not sovereign. The potential of the bill to destabilize Uganda's balance of payments is our primary concern as a central bank. For example, the last fiscal year, the overall balance of payment surpluses was $1.5 billion US. That's how we were able to increase our reserve coverage. Today, as we speak, our reserves are closer to $6 billion. Why? Because this inflows have been coming in. The moment you tamper with these inflows here, we risk ruining down our reserves, and that is economic disaster for our country. That is by the governor, what he's saying about the protectionist bill. So it is no longer going to be proceeding through because it is an economic harm. It isn't just about politics. It's about economics. And so if the protectionist bill went through, that would mean that anyone, such as the United States or any other country, helping Uganda in any other way would be considered harming Uganda. And so that means no money would come in. And that means you as a Ugandan wouldn't get any money. The country would be even poorer than it already is. And as I said, it's not just about politics and Bobi Wine and the National Unity Platform. It is about you, how you earn your money. So if you're out of Uganda and you still are a Ugandan citizen with Uganda citizenship, and you earn any money outside of Uganda, then you have to report it. And if you go over that cap, they will penalize you. And if you criticize the government, you could get up to 20 years in jail. That is just economic disaster. That is just failing for the country to be failing, period. Now, someone such as Bobi Wine or any other person who is outside of the country and does speeches, they will now be able to earn money, and it will be theirs. There's nothing capped. You still pay your taxes, but you are not capped at how much you can earn. And there is no reason why anyone should criticize the government or should be able to criticize the government, I want to say. So if you're outside of Uganda and you criticize the government, I think you should. You're still a Ugandan. You still have your citizenship. Why not? Why is the government trying to control the lives of its citizens with speech and the pursuit of income? That makes no sense. The money will still be coming into Uganda because Ugandans who live outside of the country still spend money. They return, spend money, send money to their families. This was just all about control. All about control. And so it has been squashed. It will no longer be a problem for anyone. Now, I want to let you hear what the government has to say. This is another 8 minutes. So I will let you listen to it. And you can see it for yourself.
Comprehensive assessment of this bill. Chairman, let me be very clear from the outset. This bill is about cross-border payments. And cross-border payments is about the balance of payments. Because the balance of payments is a comprehensive record of all economic transactions between a country's residents and the rest of the world over a given period of time. It tracks the inflows and outflows of money from trade in goods, services, and financial assets. The balance of payments is divided into current account balance and the financial account, and of course the capital account. Now, what is the case of Uganda? The case of Uganda is that the current account balance has always been in the negative because our imports are far much greater than exports. So how do we close this? It's through financial flows. Financial flows into the financial account. And where these financial flows exceed the deficit in the current account, that's how we build reserves. Now, what is this bill doing? This bill is bringing restrictions into cross-border transactions, meaning that it is bringing restrictions on the inflows to this country. And we run a risk of reducing substantially the inflows into Uganda. And if we reduce these inflows into Uganda, it means that our current account is even going to widen. And with the restrictions, there will be limited inflows in the financial account, which is going to make it very difficult for us to finance the widening current account balance. So how then does the balance of payments balance? We are going to have a substantial depreciation of the currency because you need to make imports more expensive in order to equate imports to exports. So this is the main risk of this bill. And also, it means that our capacity to build reserves, because now the flows in the financial account are reducing, we won't have any excess of financial flows in the financial account over the current account balance to build reserves. And Chairman, a country without reserves is not sovereign. So, the most important thing is how do we deal with this? If you look at, for example, what's being proposed, the potential of this bill to destabilize Uganda's balance of payments is our primary concern as a central bank because it affects cross-border flows. For example, last financial year.
As you saw from the governor of the bank, inflows coming in would be restricted, and that's not what you want. So it was a few more minutes longer, but I cut it short because I wanted you to hear some of it. And so now you understand that this bill would have not been good for anyone. It wasn't just about politics. It's also about freedom of earning income and freedom of speech.